On today's episode of Brothers Know Best, we are going to try to settle a huge debate. Who is the best TV character of all time? This might get a little spicy. And for all you sports fans and party planners, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl and food for the Super Bowl and how to have a great time enjoying friends and company for the Super Bowl, even if your team is not in the Super Bowl. Guys, is our team in the Super Bowl?
I'm not sure I know who our team is anymore.
I'm not a Falcons fan.
Sure.
So.
When I think of the NFL, I don't really know what team I identify with anymore.
Welcome into Brothers Know Best. This is episode 10. Boys, how are we doing on this fine last week? Thank God, last week of January.
Mama, we made it. 10 episodes. That's insane.
Double digits.
I didn't think we were going to make it to the end of episode 1, if I'm honest. So feel pretty good.
January being over also means that football season is almost over. For the NFL, it's already over for college, almost over for the NFL. Man, we're going to talk about the best thing in sports this week. My best thing in sports, it comes from the NFL, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason that the Philadelphia Eagles are the best thing in sports for me this week is because they drafted all them daggum Georgia Bulldogs. And who knew, gentlemen, who knew if you went out and drafted a bunch of players on defense from one of the college football's best defenses of all time, that you would actually have a good NFL defense? I mean, who could have imagined that? I'll tell you who could not have imagined that. Freaking Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they couldn't imagine driving an hour and a half down the street to watch Georgia football players, to even think about drafting a Georgia football player. So, but those Eagles, they went out and got all them Georgia football players, and now that defense has brought them into another Super Bowl opportunity. That's my best sports of the week because, I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I don't have an NFL team, as we've already established. Falcons can die in a fire. Go Eagles. America's team for me right now.
America's
team. I've seen videos of actual Eagles fans, and I don't know if I can stamp that America's team, but I will say I have been a pretty loyal Eagles fan this entire season because of all them dogs. And I got to tell you that the Eagles offense has kind of been up and down, struggled for a little bit there with the injuries in the receiver position, but that defense carried them through the late part of the season. If you look back at the scores, the box scores, I mean, they didn't allow more than 20 points to an opponent for a string of games. I mean,
they're allowing 17 points a game, best in the NFL.
There you go.
But you know what also happened with the Eagles, and this is not an Eagles podcast, so we can move on. But Saquon Barkley happened to the freaking Eagles. Good grief,
no doubt.
Saquon Barkley. So shout out to all those Georgia Bulldogs. Excited to watch the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Daniel, what's your best sports take of the week?
Well, to go back just real quick to the Falcons, they're still trying to replace Matt Ryan. So Falcons fans may not want to hear that, but letting Matt Ryan go was a huge mistake.
Letting Julio Jones go was the big mistake because Matty Checkdown was just getting yards after catch with Julio Jones. Anyway, we will talk about the Falcons. We may do an episode of just us venting about the Falcons, getting it all out.
We can talk about where we left our love for the Falcons on the side of the road.
Yeah, I don't even know who these players are, by the way, because I'm not a Falcons fan. So.
My best moment in sports comes from one of those Philly dogs, Mr. Jalen Carter. Who knew Jalen Carter would be the absolute stud that he would be? And the Falcons had a chance to draft him. They didn't. Philly snatched him up. The dude has like 20 quarterback pressures just in the postseason, which is insane. And I don't know, boys, when we were growing up, or I would maybe not growing up, but back when we were younger, there used to be a saying that says, I'm going to slap you into the middle of next week. Well, there was a moment that Jalen Carter actually did that to one of the Washington Commanders O linemen. He took one hand, guys. Go back, check the video. Yep. One hand, slapped the dude in the face, and knocked him to the ground. One hand, open-handed. The disrespect. Okay, and this wasn't like some running back or some cheap tight end trying to catch a block on Jalen Carter. This was your trench guy. This was some former Wisconsin Badger, cornbread, chicken and dumpling dude. I don't know if they eat chicken and dumplings in Wisconsin, but cornbread nonetheless.
I believe hog molly. Hog molly is the term you're looking for there.
Cheese curds.
Cheese curd cornbread kind of dude. And Jalen knocked him and I enjoyed that so much. Yeah. That is football.
Yeah.
I'll just piggyback for a second. Jalen Carter, my favorite moment for Jalen Carter is that once again he picked up a quarterback like a trophy, and it happened to be Matthew Stafford. It was amazing.
That was good.
Love seeing that. Is it my turn yet?
It's your turn.
It's your turn.
The floor is yours, sir.
I got to be honest. I don't have a favorite thing in sports. I mean, I'm excited the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl because of all those dogs and because I've enjoyed watching them this season. But I don't have a favorite thing in sports because I'm over it. Guys, I am done with the Chiefs. I'm so sick and tired of the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick
Get it all
Mahomes.
out, brother.
Look, bro, I got an axe to grind here. Patrick Mahomes is not an elite quarterback in the NFL because he's so good at scrambling. Although he is good at scrambling, it's not because he can read a defense. Although he can read a defense, it is because he is the slipperiest football player I've ever seen in my life. And is like, he's a freaking tax evader. He finds the loopholes in the code and takes advantage of the sport. And he's such a wimp when he gets hit. But if I'm a defender, I don't know when I can hit him. You know what I'm saying? It kills me. The guy scrambles to the sideline and acts like he's going out of bounds. And if you touch him, he flops out of bounds like you hit him late. But if you don't touch him, he takes 3 more yards from you. If he's scrambling in the middle of the field, he acts like he's going to slide. So you back off because if you hit him when he slides, you're going to get flagged. But if you don't hit him, he doesn't slide and he runs for 3 more yards. I think the NFL has freaking got to crack down on this clown because he's just it's exploiting the spirit of the game. In my mind, it is absolutely putting defenders in impossible situations. I think if he's going to act like he's going to slide and then he doesn't slide, he should get flagged. Because what are you supposed to do if you're a defender? And the NFL needs to quit protecting him and carrying the Chiefs through the season to the freaking Super Bowl. I'm over it. I'm tempted to not even watch the Super Bowl, but I want those dogs to crush the Chiefs. Come on.
Mic drop.
I'm over it.
Listen,
he's
you're not alone.
Slimy, he's a tax evader. He exploits.
The tax evasion was top tier. I'm not gonna lie.
I love it though. Dude just got a $500 million contract. So the IRS will be watching. If they weren't watching him already, Michael Smith just put him on notice.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it.
Well, listen, you know who I have an issue with the Kansas City Chiefs?
I know.
It's Taylor Swift.
How
in the world have we let Taylor Swift build a name for herself by dating Travis Kelce? Because Taylor Swift, no one would even know what the Eras Tour even was if it wasn't for Travis Kelce in the NFL. And this woman comes in and builds an empire on the back of the NFL and football.
Just piggybacking. She's just
piggybacking. She's riding coattails of Travis Kelce. And Taylor, if you're listening, it is not okay. You need to go out, make your own living. I know the Eras Tour. I know you're in good shape now because Travis Kelce blew up the Eras Tour and made it a popular thing. No one would have known about it otherwise. But that's who I have a problem with when it comes to
earn your own way.
So after the Chiefs win the AFC Championship, we want to hear Andy Reid talk about cheeseburgers, and I have Taylor Swift on my screen. What's up?
Dude.
Yeah, come on.
That's true.
Joke. joke.
It's true. It's true. Travis, you can do better, bro. You can do better.
More Andy Reid, less Taylor Swift. I think we're all in agreement here.
We are in agreement with that. And Patrick Mahomes, you're on notice for tax evasion.
Pay your taxes.
The real reason that we even care about the Super Bowl, let's be honest, especially now that we've already established we don't even have an NFL team anymore. The reason we even care about the Super Bowl is for the food. And so, Daniel, would love to know how do you have a good Super Bowl party if you don't have an NFL team to root for, or if your NFL team is dead to you? What makes a good Super Bowl party, and what are some of the foods that you would suggest that others serve up, or that you may be serving up yourself?
Okay, I'll get to my foods in just a second, but I got two or three quick things. If your team is not playing in the Super Bowl, some people actually argue that if your team is not playing, you actually enjoy the overall Super Bowl experience more. And I can't 100% disagree with that, because having plenty of experience with your team not being in the Super Bowl 2 times in my entire life, you get to watch it stress-free, maybe. So I got two little things here, and then the third one is going to be an obvious. But number one, the way to have a good Super Bowl party, a good stress-free environment, is don't bet on the game. Don't put it. You have no emotional ties there. Your team's not in it. Don't add that financial stress, brother. You just got through Christmas. You're surviving. You're paying those debts. You're catching up. Don't throw money at that game. Don't do it. So you take the financial stress out, you take the emotional stress out. That's a win-win. And number two, especially to kind of just second what Michael said about Patrick Mahomes, it being just this year. Every time you see a ref throw a flag, just yell rigged, rigged, rigged. So you may be one of those people out there that thinks that the NFL has a conspiracy theory or some kind of script where they manufacture these wins and losses to get certain teams into the Super Bowl that's going to get the most publicity. They're going to add a Taylor Swift in there. They're going to manufacture this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce love story to kind of bring in all the Swifties, all these. You got 12-year-old girls that care about the Super Bowl. That's not natural, guys. That's just not. Anyway.
Change my mind.
So
the NFL is rigged. Change my mind.
So when you see them throw a flag, just yell rigged, because that lets the NFL know that, hey, you're not just some casual mumbo jumbo. You're onto their tricks.
Yep.
You see what's going on there. And number three is the food. The best part, not just Super Bowl gathering, but of any gathering is the food. If there are people there, what's the number one question? What are we eating? What's going down?
And I will say this: if the best part of your gatherings, whether it's Super Bowl or otherwise, is not the food, pick new friends, pick a new family, whatever.
You're at the wrong place.
Something's not right.
You got the wrong address. Google Maps has taken you somewhere you don't want to be. Okay, so I go with Super Bowl is you want it to be quick, easy. You don't want to spend time slaving over the oven all day. If you want to do a smoker, that's fine, but that just seems like a lot of work to me. Most people prefer something different. That's okay. I like handhelds. I like something that's quick, something I can kind of grab and go. Handheld. I don't want it to be messy. I don't want it to be all over my face and my hands. I want it to be quick. So like anything bite size, anything I can just grab a ham. I can run in the kitchen or the dining room, whatever, grab a handful of, miss those boring commercials just in time to make it back, to see Patrick Mahomes, score a touchdown. So yeah, that's where it is. But I guess my couple of my food picks here. I got the, apparently it's controversial, the Black Forest ham and cheese sliders.
Listen, I don't know why you got to go Black Forest. I like my ham to taste like it's from the front of the pig. You know what I'm saying? Not the back end.
Okay, so so you got your Black Forest ham. Use whatever ham you like. Okay, I don't give a ham. But you got the Hawaiian rolls, Dijon mustard, Swiss cheese, the butter, mix it all that up, put it in a pan, put it in the oven for a little bit. God, it's absolutely golden. And then the best part is a dip. You got to have something. You got to have a bag full of those scoops. I don't want those big old triangles that are going to like cut the roof of my mouth. I want a scoop where I can get a good healthy portion, and give me that hot sausage Rotel cheese dip. It's got to be hot sausage though. Not just your regular. And don't do Jimmy Dean. No disrespect to people out there. Don't do Jimmy Dean. There's something better out there, folks. Explore. Get out and know your pork. All right.
Don't you disrespect Jimmy Dean like that.
I'm offended.
The hot sausage cheese Rotel dip, man. That is an all timer.
This man's eating Black Forest ham, but when it comes to sausage, all of a sudden he's got a sophisticated palate. Like he's too refined for Jimmy Dean. What are we talking about?
Oh boy,
that's right. It's too fatty.
All right, listen, I'm going to piggyback on that because you've opened a door that is very important for the Super Bowl.
When I said
I'm a big fan of handhelds, but dips, people, dips. You want something that you can walk over to the table very quickly, scoop onto that plate, and get back to the TV. And there are two dips, or two. One maybe is, you could argue whether it's a dip or not. But two items you got to have. One is buffalo chicken dip. And I know probably most of the people watching this are in the South, and buffalo chicken dip, and it's one of your favorites. But I have to say it as the Pacific Northwesterner, because when we got up here and started watching football with people, I was shocked at how many people didn't know what buffalo chicken dip was. And I was like, well, but just stop everything, pause the game. Let's talk about good food for a game. So got to have that buffalo chicken dip. And then you got to have a good spread, like a pimento cheese spread. You could make a pimento cheese dip. I'm not as big a fan if you heat it. I want it cold. But there is a brand out of North Carolina. I feel like it fits for this show because it's called My Three Sons, and they have a spicy white cheddar pimento cheese spread. I bet you can get it in Publix. You can certainly get it in Kroger. Go find yourself that My Three Sons pimento cheese spread. So you got to have dips. And then the other thing is, I'm actually the guy that likes to light the smoker on Super Bowl Sunday. And I discovered this past year party ribs. I don't know if you guys have had party ribs. So if you're a chicken wing guy like me, I love chicken wings, but party ribs are like a different take on ribs, where you separate the rack of ribs before you smoke them. So they get a nice crust all the way around the rib. And then you toss them in some kind of sauce. It could be a spicy sauce. It could be a barbecue sauce, whatever you want. But they're like bite-sized, single-serving party ribs.
There you go.
Definitely a winner.
Michael, when you do those party ribs, let me make a suggestion. Have you had Bacon's Japanese barbecue sauce?
I have not.
Yes, sir.
About to change your life right here. Cut your party ribs up and smoke them for just, maybe 30 minutes. Then douse them in the Bacon's, and then finish smoking. And probably between, let's say, I don't know if you're smoking for maybe an hour and a half, douse them 2 or 3 more times, and then take you a roasting pan. You can do this on your smoker, you can do it in the oven. Put the ribs in a roasting pan, put a little bit more pecans on there, and throw them in. Turn the temperature up to maybe 375, 400, and just for maybe 5 minutes, dude. Sticky Japanese barbecue party ribs. Boom.
That's what I'm going for. I like it.
Yeah. Before I give you my foods, I have a bone to pick. Okay. Daniel started this segment with, don't want to stand around a smoker, don't want to eat stuff that's messy, he basically, everything that I'm about to tell you, you stand around a smoker, it's messy, you're going to get all over yourself. I apparently am the opposite when it comes to party food than Daniel. But there are 3 things that I love making for Super Bowl party, love making for parties in general. one of them is called a Mississippi pot roast sandwich. You guys ever had Mississippi pot roast? So Mississippi pot roast is like a traditional pot roast. It's a chuck roast, but what you're going to do is you brown the chuck roast just like you're making a pot roast, and then you have your crock pot, your slow cooker. You're going to throw that thing in your slow cooker, and you're going to put ranch dressing mix, and you're going to put au jus gravy mix, the dry gravy mix.
Yeah.
And you're going to put butter, and you're just going to sit the butter just basically like right on top of the roast and those mixes, dry mixes you put in there. And you're going to put pepperoncini peppers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the pepperoncini peppers from like Greek salad and stuff. And you're going to put those around the roast and a little bit on top of the roast. And you're just going to let that thing cook for 6 or 8 hours. And it's going to fall apart. And dude, it is so good. You can just eat it by itself. I mean, you can just shred it and just eat it. So good. But if you take that Mississippi pot roast and you put it on some good like French bread, like sub bread, you toast that bread a little bit, you put that on there, and you put cheese, you know, get you some provolone or some Swiss or even a good like white cheddar, and you put a layer of cheese on the bread, put the pot roast on top of it, throw it in the broiler, or you don't even have to do that if you don't want. You can just go ahead and eat it because that'll be hot and it'll all melt together. Dude, they're so good. The best sandwiches you'll ever eat. And I have pictures that I'll add on the show if you're watching this on YouTube. Of we made these quite a few times, dude. It's so good, and it's not that messy. I was joking about being messy, but it's not that messy.
I got to stop you because you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. As we record this, it's dinner time in Oregon. I haven't eaten in 7 hours. And I'm going to walk out this door when we finish, and there's going to be a plate of food waiting on me. And my wife will never know how disappointed I am in whatever is on that plate. But all I can think about right now is that slider bun with a couple of banana peppers on top of that.
Yep.
Mississippi pot roast.
And dude, if you take that sandwich and you take some of the jus out of your crock pot, put it in a little bowl and just dip that thing. God, it's so good. Mississippi pot roast sliders. Another slider I like to do. I've done this for you guys a couple times. A few years ago, I had this dream of starting a barbecue slider food truck. And what my idea was, I was going to have all kinds of like little barbecue sliders, like little pulled pork and brisket like sliders, right? You could choose from. So I was experimenting one time, and I had actually a few days before I'd eaten a Cuban sandwich. So you know the roast pork, the ham, the pickle, the mustard on the Cuban bread.
If you didn't talk about this, I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I'd eaten that a few days before, and then I was experimenting with these barbecue sliders, and I did this thing called a Cuban Q. All a Cuban Q is it is pulled pork, like a barbecue, like pulled pork. So I'll smoke a pork butt. Pulled pork. You douse that in barbecue sauce. I like to use. You can use a mustard sauce if you want, but I like to use just like a more vinegary, sweeter sauce for that. Then you're going to take just deli ham, not Black Forest ham, probably.
Not Black Forest ham? No, not Black Forest ham.
You're going to take deli ham. You're going to take a thin slice of deli ham. You're on your slider bun. You're going to put the pulled pork with the barbecue sauce. You're going to put a little slice of deli ham. You're going to put a nice slice of Swiss cheese. You're going to put a pickle, and you're going to put a little mustard on that bun. And what you've created is essentially a barbecue sandwich, and then you've added the accoutrements that you would put on a Cuban sandwich with the ham, the Swiss, and the pickle and the mustard. And boy, Cuban Qs all day long. So good. Really, really for any party.
But let me stop you real quick. Man has a lot of dreams. Man has a lot of ideas. That barbecue, I'm still waiting on that barbecue food truck because of that sandwich. Yeah. He could make a daggum barbecue food truck and just sell a Cuban Q, and he would be a Q millionaire. I don't even know how many millions of dollars that would be. But
Cuban Q.
That sandwich, and I'm not just buttering his bread here. That sandwich is freaking incredible.
You know why?
It's probably been 2.5 years since I've had one, maybe. I still think about it all the time. Like anytime
yeah.
anytime somebody says Cuban to me, and they could mention Mark Cuban, and I'm going to say, let me tell you something about a Cuban. You hadn't had a good Cuban until you've had a Cuban Q.
The Cuban Q.
The dang truth.
And you know what, Daniel? I appreciate you because when I was making that up, I thought, man, I don't know if anybody ever eat that. And you know what I told myself? I don't give a ham. I'm making it anyway.
That's right.
I'll eat it all. I'll eat it all by my ham self.
Absolutely. All right, we talked about all the savory stuff. We can't do a food segment, food episode without talking about sweet stuff, right? What desserts are you rolling out? Because let me tell you something. One of my biggest beefs with Super Bowl parties, with any kind of gathering around, even tailgates. I'll say tailgates. People overlook the dessert. People overlook the sweets.
Yep.
At the Super Bowl party, at the tailgate. Bring the sweets. What are we having for dessert at the Super Bowl party?
So I've got a life hack for you. Take whatever your favorite brownie recipe is. Now, I said recipe. If you're still making brownies out of a box in the year of our Lord 2025, I can't help you. I know there are probably great box brownies out there, but it's not that hard to make your own brownies. John, you have something?
Real quick, Elliot, I know you're listening to this. My 15-year-old daughter, who just made the most wonderful brownies out of a box this weekend. I love your brownies. Keep making your brownies out of a box. Continue on.
So everybody but Ellie, you're making brownies out of a box. Knock it off. It's not that hard to make your own brownies, but find whatever your favorite brownie recipe is and replace the cocoa powder with extra dark cocoa powder. Cut the sugar by about a third and then add some dark chocolate chips into it and serve it for every party you're going to have for the rest of the year.
Boom.
It is money.
Love it. And you're going to serve that brownie with
Tillamook vanilla ice cream.
Big scoop of Tillamook vanilla ice cream. Let's not even act like there's anything else.
Yeah,
because that's what we had with Ellie's brownies out of a box. We had warm brownies with Tillamook vanilla ice cream. Perfect. Perfect.
Well, you talk about the Mississippi pot roast. One of my favorite desserts is the Mississippi mud cake. Yes, sir.
God, I hadn't one of those in years.
I don't discriminate against any kind of chocolate, but if it is chocolate layered on chocolate with marshmallows, if you want to throw some walnuts in there, I don't care. But that Mississippi mud cake is insane. I mean, it is so hard to mess up. It's not even funny, and that's why it's one of my favorites. It's not quite a handheld. It doesn't really meet that requirement, but when it comes to desserts, this is a no discrimination zone, my friend. None.
Look, it's not a handheld, but if you don't want to waste your time with the plate, there's no judgment. You scoop that thing right into that hand, straight to the mouth.
If you see me coming out of the kitchen with the what's left over in the pan that it was cooked in, with a big spoon, you better watch your eyes. You better watch your eyes. Sir, my eyes are up here.
My eyes are up here.
Man, I love it. Well, I'll say we're a big cookie household over here. Stephanie,
yes.
Y'all know, y'all are here for Christmas. Stephanie is the queen.
We need to have Stephanie on. We need to have a cookie episode. Dude. And just we don't even need to show up. Let's just have her on, talk for 30 minutes about her favorite cookie recipes. Mm-hmm. She would never agree to that, but she is like the cookie queen.
Yep. And for me, she makes these giant cookies, these like big monster cookies that it's basically like chocolate chip pecan kind of cookies that are perfect for a Super Bowl party. But I'm going to go back to the chocolate too. This is chocolate. So I know if you're not a big chocolate fan, Daniel has a fantastic cheesecake recipe that might work for you. But Stephanie's, she makes chocolate cookies, soft, just chocolate cookies. And she takes those Andes mints, those Andes chocolate mints, like you used to get by the handful at Olive Garden.
Oh,
when
take me
you go to
back.
Olive Garden, you walk out and you grab about 25 Andy's mints.
Oh,
But
Okay,
she takes.
we had these over
Yep.
Christmas break when Michael
Yep.
was here.
no.
Yep.
There might have been 20 in the container. I think I ate 12 of them. Not even playing. I didn't
So,
save.
chocolate
It
cookies.
was dog eat dog up in there.
Yep.
I
So she bakes the cookies and puts an Andy's mint on top of it, so it melts and just has like basically a mint chocolate kind of topping on top of a chocolate cookie. And I love it because at a Super Bowl party, you're eating all the savory stuff, all the things, and then you hit it with that chocolate and that mint, and it's kind of like just a good capping of the evening for food. It's like you're leaving Olive Garden. And you haven't lived until you've been about 14, 15 years old, and you just ate your weight in the tour of Italy at Olive Garden with the lasagna and the veal or the chicken parmesan and
chicken parm.
And then you walk out and you grab a handful of those Andy's mints.
You made it to the tour of Italy? Because my recollection of Olive Garden is about 7 to 10 of those breadsticks, and then about a fistful of Andy's mints on the way out. We've beat the Super Bowl to death at this point, but I got to say one more thing, because Daniel started this segment. I'm now going to take issue with his opening monologue. He said, "You want to be happy about the Super Bowl? Don't bet on the game." Agree in principle, because I understand what you're referring to when you say bet on the game. Don't bet on the outcome of the game. Totally agree. But I will tell you, I have never had more fun in my life watching the Super Bowl than like 3 years ago. I was with some friends of mine in San Diego. We're watching the Super Bowl, and we started playing dollar bets on the Super Bowl. So everybody show up with $20 bills, or you could do quarters. I don't care. But you place a bet on literally anything. They're just prop bets throughout the game. So it could be, hey, the next play is going to be a run, or the next play is going to be a pass. And you just put $1 down on the table. You say, I bet the next play is going to be a run. And somebody can place their $1 down, and whoever wins that bet gets the $2.
If I leave the house with a stack of $1 bills stacked in my pocket, I better have a good excuse of where I'm going.
That's right. Well, you're going to dollar bet on the Super Bowl. But listen, it gets so much better.
Think she'll buy that.
Because by about the middle of the second quarter, you are betting on, will the next TV commercial have a cell phone in it? Will the next person on the screen be male or female? You're betting on literally anything. Will there be a flag on this drive?
Yes.
I love it.
Well, depends on who has the ball.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. If the Chiefs are driving, you might want to bet $2 against. So, or
Love
$4 actually, because they're going to penalize the Eagles for sure. All right, that's all I got. So,
all right. Well, now that you know how to have the best Super Bowl party, go forth, conquer. We'll put some of these recipes, however many can make it before then, onto brothersknowbest.com. Check that out. Subscribe to the show. Follow. Really appreciate the support. We're having a lot of fun doing this. All right, boys. Time to settle an enormous debate. The debate of all debates. Best TV character of all time. Now,
wow.
I want to set the stage before we get into this conversation, because I think this conversation is going to be vigorous and winding, and you're probably going to see, Michael talked about in our last episode of learning that he had adult ADHD later in life, and you're probably going to see that come out very clearly with all three of us during this episode, because
he says, after we just did a 20-minute segment on Super Bowl food,
well,
you're about to see this. You're about to see
it. Listen to the segment on Super Bowl food. You'll feel the same.
If you weren't convinced yet, here comes your moment.
Yeah, here comes your moment. But before we get into the actual characters themselves, because boy, do we have a list of characters. I want to set the stage of how we define best TV character, because best TV character, you can say, you know, there's best TV characters in certain genres, right? So best sitcom character, best drama character. There's all those things. There's best TV characters in certain stages and eras. So 90s, 70s, 60s, you know, all those things. We're not talking about any of that. What we're talking about is when we think about best TV character, we think about usually a character that the show could not have worked without that particular character. So it more than likely may not be the lead character. Sometimes it might, but usually it's a character that is so good, and usually it added some type of contrast or something to the show that when you watch that show, you were watching to see what that character did. Even if that character was not the lead character, you were just waiting to see like what's going to happen with this particular character because they provided some contrast, some other different element. And so when we talked about this, we narrowed it down to, let's talk about characters that add contrast to a show, that really these shows that we grew up watching, that we still watch today, that could not have worked without this particular character. That's what makes the best TV character for us. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm ready to jump in. So who's ready?
I'll go. So for me, I'm going to add one dimension to that criteria. What makes it great? It's got to be a contrast. Like Ron Swanson is a great TV character, and part of the reason he's so great is because he's the perfect mirror image of Leslie Knope. Leslie Knope, dedicated, loyal public servant, eternal optimist. Ron Swanson, cynical, jaded, you know, and pessimistic as they come. So it's a great contrast, right? That's a key piece. But then there's always an irony about the character. So Ron Swanson is a government employee who hates the government, right? Great. That is some great irony. You say Ted Lasso, great TV character. He's a football coach from America and super optimistic. And he becomes a soccer coach in a very dry, cynical British environment. Really good. Dwight Schrute, the most antisocial salesperson you've ever met in your life. Like, guy just wants to run a beet farm. So many great, there's an irony to all these great characters. But for me, there is no greater character that embodies both an absolute contrast to the main character and a great deal of irony than the deputy sheriff who can only have one bullet and he has to keep it in his shirt pocket, who locks himself in the jail cell and who somehow bumbles his way into catching criminals over and over and over again. Guys, Barney Fife, I submit to the jury that there is no better television character in the history of television.
Nope.
Every single thing he did was comedic genius. I mean, he's 115 pounds soaking wet with a dead animal on his back, and he's supposed to be stopping crime. Like, just everything about that character is ironic, and the delivery. Don Knotts was, obviously won whatever it was, 4 or 5 Emmys in a row, however many seasons he was on the show, and still was grossly underappreciated for what he brought to that show. Just unbelievable.
Little known fact about the Andy Griffith Show, which is, you know, my favorite show. We grew up. If you want to go back in time just a minute, we grew up. Our TV had 3 channels because we had an antenna. Okay, and one of those channels was, I think, Fox 61, and you got a lot of Andy Griffith on Fox 61 out of Chattanooga. And if that wasn't enough, if you were bored, Dad had the entire set of VHS.
Yes.
Andy Griffith. I might have cried when they put Andy Griffith on one of the streaming services where you could just watch it without having to put in that VHS. But it was so good. But the irony of the Andy Griffith Show was Andy Griffith was a comedian growing up, and he was supposed to be the deputy sheriff. He was supposed to be the punchline, you know, the joke, the funny guy, until he met Don Knotts. And he was like, nope, this is my guy. This is my match. And we're just gonna flip. So that is
In
absolutely
fact, Andy Griffith famously said, if you watch season 1 of the Andy Griffith Show, he said it almost didn't work as a show because he was trying to be funny next to Don Knotts. And what he realized was, if this show is going to work, I've got to be the responsible straight guy and let him be the kook who's like creating all the mayhem. And that's when the magic clicked.
Yeah. And we will do an episode on the Andy Griffith Show because, as y'all were both saying, I mean, we grew up on it. That's what we watched. But you got to give me a couple of favorite Barney Fife moments.
Citizens arrest.
we just watched that Sunday.
Oh man.
Incredible.
God, so good. Is it Gomer?
Gomer.
There ought to be a number law that covers that.
Yep. That is such a great Don Knotts moment or Barney Fife moment, because it's like Barney is trying to be the
law man.
The law. He's trying to be the law. He's trying to be the guy who's going to crack down and like enforce order. And then when Gomer says citizens arrest and calls him down, Barney is just losing it, and he's just, he feels so disrespected and he feels so like, I don't know which direction to go.
And then the look on his face when Andy says, write yourself a ticket, Barn. Write yourself a ticket. You've got to be kidding.
I love it.
I'll write it out. You're darn right. I'll write it. I'm sorry. We literally just watched this Sunday. That is so fresh on my mind. It is so good.
But some people would say, I guess that's more of a Gomer moment.
No.
But I think Barney's like
Barney. No, Barney makes that work because he quits. He then quits. The whole episode is about Barney quitting, resigning, and then coming back into the fold.
I got one more. And that is the episode where Barney sings.
Oh my gosh.
And he's got they tell him sing softer. And they kill his mic, and then the baritone in the back sings into that mic, and his eyes.
That's it. You singing, got it.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorites, since we're all given one, is when Aunt B makes the pickles, the pickle episode, and Barney Fife she brings those pickles in, and Barney Fife is like choking down one of those pickles, and he looks over at Andy and he said, "You know what these pickles taste like? They taste like kerosene." And it's like just the look on his face when he's talking about her kerosene cucumbers.
Oh my gosh.
And I love all those episodes. So yeah, Barney Fife. Hard to disagree with Barney Fife. We're gonna stay kind of in that era, that black and white for my first one. I'm gonna list a couple. Just spoiler alert, but my first one. Listen, guys, I don't know that we would have sitcoms that we have enjoyed our entire lives. The sitcoms that we have enjoyed, and even sitcoms, kind of where they are today, without a woman named Lucille Ball, who played Lucy Ricardo on I Love Lucy. Lucy's character on I Love Lucy was incredible and one of the best of all time for a number of reasons. But with our stated criteria, the irony of this character in the 1950s, Lucy Ricardo dreams of being a star, and she is hilariously untalented. And it's like this whole idea of like somebody who, clearly is based on the character is trying to, to be a star. Her husband is an actual like performer and entertainer, and she's constantly like trying to do that. And she's just hilariously untalented. But she's clearly talented as an actress, hilarious. That, and also, I got to get a nod to just this idea of in the 50s, it's the housewife versus the adventurer. Like she's playing a character that is a housewife, right? And the idea is that like all the housewives on, Leave It to Beaver and all those shows, right, were a very like stereotypical. And then you have Lucille Ball that comes along, and her character is constantly trying to break out of this mold. Like she's causing trouble. She's chasing excitement. For me, just some of those shows. And I mean, Vita Vita Vegemin, where she's just like trying to do the advertisement for, but yeah, it just, I mean, her mannerisms,
the chocolate, the conveyor belt,
chocolate conveyor belt, where she
that scene that is a top 10 probably sitcom scene
of all time.
Yeah. Lucille Ball, Lucy Ricardo, and I Love Lucy. So fantastic, dude. Like,
it's just so raw too. I love it.
Top of the top. My other one more, I try to go back. I try to do one way back and then one a little bit more modern. But y'all, I'm going to go with Michael Scott. And I know we're saying this again, right? So we said like not necessarily lead characters. Now I kind of listed 2 lead characters for mine. But Michael Scott, Steve Carell playing Michael Scott in The Office. The irony of being the most incompetent person on the entire show, while also being the manager and the person in charge is just so good. And I have watched The Office. I mean, I can quote entire episodes of The Office. But Michael Scott, when he really season 2, like when he started hitting his stride and when he leaned into just truly being like that balance of I'm the main character, but I have to have all these other characters for my character to work, but also I have to be like not the main character. Like I have to be a little bit incompetent, a little bit like, for this to work, versus being what he was in season 1, which is like completely like just totally incompetent. But dude, Michael Scott, I just love, and my favorite episode of The Office, my favorite Michael Scott moment is when he calls and needs Pam to come pick him up from his house because he burned his foot on his George Foreman grill.
Because he wants to wake up to the
because
smell
he
of
wants
bacon.
to wake up to the smell of bacon. And he says, I set an alarm. I wake up. I put bacon on my George Foreman grill. I close the grill. I go back to sleep. I set another alarm. I wake up to the sizzling smell of fresh bacon in the morning. but he stepped on his George Foreman grill and injured his foot getting out of bed. I mean, just those moments. There's so many of Michael Scott. But love
there's not a more uncomfortable 30 minutes of television than the episode when they have the party at Michael and Jan's house.
God.
The flat screen TV. Jan let him get a flat screen.
Oh my gosh. That dude, and I'll just say it, the vasectomy scene. When you said you didn't want to have kids, who had a vasectomy? And then when you said you wanted to have kids, who had it reversed? And then you decided that you really didn't want to have kids, who had it reversed back? Snip, snap, snip, snap. You have no idea the turmoil that 3 vasectomies causes on a man.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's just Michael Scott. Incredible.
Oh, me.
So good.
All right, Daniel.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I could, you mentioned Dwight Schrute. One of my favorite lines is where he says, "How would I describe myself? 3 words: hardworking, alpha male, jackhammer, merciless, insatiable." And that is just the absolute epitome of Dwight Schrute, and just a great, absolute great, like anti-hero or supporting character.
Yes.
Oh man. I threw in Chandler Bing from Friends. Like he is that show. I mean, he is the punch guy, he's got those lines, his mannerisms, all that.
Yep.
But I've got to go. If you want to watch a show, you can turn on, we talked about Andy Griffith. I can watch it any day of the week. Doesn't matter what mood I'm in. But if I want to laugh, if I want good comedy, I'm going to turn on those 4 friends who live in their life in New York City and the show about nothing. And I'm going to go with one Mr. George Costanza because he is so dramatic and self-deprecating, but he is also the smartest guy in the room. George is everything. He embodies probably every part of what you could be. Like, he's the smartest guy in the room, but he knows he's an idiot. He's not good looking, but he's doing photo shoots in his underwear. I mean, like it's just so back and forth. And I guess like the best part is the bane of George Costanza's existence is George Costanza. It's himself.
It is.
It's himself. Like the thorn in his side is himself. And that is the irony of that. But you got the Summer of George episode where he gets fired. I mean, he does nothing anyways. So like the irony of the Summer of George doing nothing, you never do anything. Anyway, you got the opposite episode where he says, it became very clear to me sitting out there today that every decision I've ever made in my entire life has been wrong.
That is the best. Because
like that is
we've all had that moment where it's like things aren't going well. Maybe I just like I tell my kids sometimes when they're driving me crazy, I'm like, listen to me. Every impulse you have is wrong.
Yep.
Like whatever you think you should do the opposite. We've all had those moments where it's like everything that I think I should do.
Whatever you're feeling right now, just turn and go 180 the opposite direction. But the favorite, I mean, the George moment for me is on an episode, I think it was the Hamptons, where they all go and they're visiting a friend, and he goes in there and he had been in the pool. Okay, so they're relaxing, having a good vacation. He was in the pool, and he goes into the bedroom to change, and Jerry's girlfriend comes in. And she looks, obviously, and she just kind of giggles and walks out. And George is absolutely mortified, and he screams, "I was in the pool! I was in the pool!" I mean, guys, we've all been there. That's a moment we can all relate with. Okay.
I think the best part of that moment is that he's looking around for validation as he's screaming that line.
No one's there.
Somebody got to understand.
Yes, and that's like his entire character. He's looking for validation from somebody, but mostly Jerry, but from somebody. But George Costanza is, I mean, the embodiment of one of the best supporting actors, supporting characters, whatever you want to call it, in a sitcom. I mean, just insane.
I love the marine biologist episode where he says, "The sea was angry that day, my friends, like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli." And then he tells that elaborate story, and then it turns into a real situation. Gosh, that is just such
just the beauty of Seinfeld, just as a whole. I mean, just incredible. We've mentioned that at the end of last episode, but just beautiful.
Yep. All right, we gotta name more. We gotta name some honorable mentions. So, I mean, Michael named a few at the top.
I got one more though.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't see how you talk about George Costanza without talking about Frank Costanza.
No, yeah, I mean, yes, 1A and 1B. I mean, because when Frank and what's her name, Estelle, is that his mom's name? Like when you see that when they introduce them into the show, George makes perfect sense.
Yep.
You're like, okay, I get who George Costanza is now. The Festivus, that. I mean, just,
oh my gosh,
Frank Costanza is your typical New York tough guy.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. Uncle Joey from Full House.
Oh, yeah.
You just started that this week with the kids.
Yep. Which I think is an all-time character. I was thinking of Urkel from Family Matters.
Yeah, Steve Urkel. Yeah.
Then I knew that.
Stefan was where it was at, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking, and I know I'm naming some lead characters, but Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just so many of those, and you can tell like the era that we grew up in TV, but
the contrast, Carlton.
Yeah.
Could he be a more opposite, just so good.
Yeah, Philly, there's another Philadelphia reference for you. You got the kid from Philly, and then you got Carlton, the little preppy California silver spoon boy. Yeah. Good.
Now that I think about it, he kind of looked like Patrick Mahomes, didn't he? Punk, spoiled punk.
And I have realized we should probably retitle this episode, and I actually might, as best best TV characters from sitcoms, because we haven't even listed any. We haven't listed Walter White.
We didn't talk about Arthur Shelby from Peaky Blinders.
I mean,
that whole show. Now, obviously, Tommy is the lead, but the progression of Arthur Shelby and just the demons he dealt with, but also just how important he was to work in that show, and then the culmination of his character coming in at the end, like walking down the street with that gun, like that is just an all-time scene. Like because when you think of a best character, like you think of that one scene that just kind of, okay, that's it. That did it for me. Arthur Shelby, that's a good one.
I mean, James Gandolfini,
Tony
Sopranos.
I
mean, we'll have to do best TV characters in a drama, as well as another episode. Well, that's best TV characters in a sitcom. I'm gonna leave us with this question: if somebody just walked up to you on the street and said, "You got to give me one quote from a TV show," any TV show, like what's your go-to quote that you're just like, all right, this is what I pull out of my pocket.
Okay, for me, it's super obscure, but Jack Donaghy, I can't believe I haven't mentioned him to this point in the show. He is one of the best, just epic. But all of his cuts at Liz Lemon, like the way he is just so condescending. And there's one quote that he has that's something like, Liz Lemon at your age, women are more likely to get mauled at the zoo than to get married.
That's awesome.
Oh gosh. But I mean, there's 100 of those. Pick the one you want.
Oh boy. Yeah. Mine is, I mean, I have a few. That's What She Said would be one. Michael Scott. Clear Eyes, Full Hearts, Can't Lose will be another one. But my go-to would probably be Walter White. When he says, "Oh, no, clearly you don't know who you're talking to. So let me clue you in. I'm not a danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens the door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No, I am the one who knocks.
I am the one who knocks. Holy crap!"
Which is,
yes,
to
sir.
me,
that
one
is
of the best. When Walter White reveals who he is to Skylar.
Okay. Let me tell you, that moment, that is not maybe right now, but when I'm going through and kind of watching Breaking Bad, I've watched it 2 or 3 times. That moment gives me chills every single time. Every single time when he says, "I am the one who knocks." It's like,
so.
Boom.
So we're gonna.
I got one. Jesse Pinkman. I say this all the time to people. I need you to do me a solid. Like something about the way he delivered that line. Do me a solid.
I love it. So the conclusion is, we talked about best TV characters from sitcoms. Sounds like we're gonna have to talk about TV characters from dramas. Sounds like we're gonna have to do an episode on Seinfeld. Sounds like we're gonna have to do an episode on Breaking Bad. Sounds like we're gonna have to, work on our TV quotes so we can pull those out anytime we get asked, because you never know, we might get asked on the street.
Yeah,
we're gonna be back next week. Who knows what we're gonna talk about? But all that to say, we got plenty to talk about, boys, and I'm excited to be back with you talking about it soon. We will see y'all next time.